Okay, walk with me for a moment. So everything's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Relationships, careers, our own personal development, hell, even our day. Our day has a beginning, middle, and end, right? So all things have all three, and the distance or the amount of time they take up isn't the same. Sometimes it's a short beginning, a long middle, a long ending. You get my point. There's all different variables of it. And the ending could be literally something that ends. It could be something that starts. It could be breakthroughs. It could be something you celebrate. It could be something you're upset about. The transformation that sits there isn't always something exciting, but it isn't always an ending of pain either. But what I really want to lean in on today and just really zoom in on is that part where it's not the beginning and it's not really the middle either. It's more like between the middle and the ending. It's that end of the middle before that transformation, let's call it. Have you ever been so deep into something that like you can't even tell if this is a breakthrough or you're so overdue on needing to just stop that you're probably headed towards a breakdown? Actually, on that note, have you ever just kept on going simply because you've invested so much already that it would be silly to turn around? Have you ever wanted to just quit, but couldn't tell whether that was a voice of wisdom, was it guidance, or is it exhaustion or fear? You're just in self-protection. So what do we do when the destination itself still freaking matters, but at the same time, we're not really sure if the cost of it does? Ouch, right? That's the moment I want to talk about today. And there's 3 words that people love to offer in moments like this. You're almost there. I'm cringing right now because those 3 words actually make my entire body tense. Because for me, those 3 words come with some history. Actually, let's just get into that because almost 30 years ago, I was delivering my first baby. 29 years to be exact. But let's lean into that whole beginning, middle, end, right? I'd already been pregnant for 9 months. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know that the last month itself somehow feels like it's its own 9 months, right? Everything hurts. You can't sleep. You can't even breathe. You can't get comfortable. You're excited, but you're also so done, right? And then ping, labor begins, and there's this whole new rush. There's this adrenaline. It's like now we're moving. Now something is happening. Now we're getting somewhere. But then that too heads into that middle ground. Eventually, the excitement, that adrenaline wears off, and you begin wondering if this labor is actually ever going to end. Like, I'm just going to be in labor forever. But then it's time to push, right? So you enter that next phase, and the beginning starts all over again. It's another rush, another dose of adrenaline, another sense of, okay, this is really it now. Like, this is really happening. In my naive 18-year-old self, I was honestly thinking, okay, I'm going to push a couple times, and then boom, we're going to get to meet our baby. But that isn't exactly what happened. I pushed for 55 minutes straight. No drugs, no numbing, no epidural. How many pushes do you think that is? That's not one push a minute. That's multiple pushings per minute for 55 minutes straight. I know I don't have the record. I know there's probably somebody listening right now that was like, girl, I wish that's all I had pushed was 55 minutes. But hear me out. During those 55 minutes, that nurse that was coaching me through this delivery said the exact same thing after every single push. Same words, same tone, same enthusiasm. Wonderful, you're almost there. And then I push again. Wonderful, you're almost there. And then I push again. For 55 minutes straight. I mean, feel me on this. Hearing you're almost there, that stopped feeling encouraging after a while. It started feeling a lot like a lie. Because if I had actually been almost there the first time she said it, then why was I fighting for my freaking life nearly an hour later? I didn't even know what almost meant anymore. Was it one more push? 5 more? 20? Was it 5 more minutes? Was it another hour? And every time she said it, I trusted her less. And she's in charge of coaching me through this. Now, I get it. It's not because she was trying to hurt me. I'm sure she thought she was helping. And honestly, maybe this had helped hundreds of other women. Or maybe she just didn't know what else to say to be encouraging. But here's the truth. She was offering me a freaking script when I needed someone to respond with what I was actually experiencing. Ooh, I'm feeling the emotions now, and it's literally 29 years later. I didn't need someone to keep promising me the ending. I needed someone to say, I know this is taking longer than you expected, and I know this is incredibly hard. I can't promise how many pushes are left, but that push you just did really mattered. I'm still right here with you. How many moments in life have we needed that, but we were handed a script instead, right? That experience gave my body a very complicated relationship with the phrase, you're almost there. So imagine my reaction years later when we lived in Colorado and hiking became my thing. And I discovered that this is apparently what hikers say to one another on the mountains. So picture this. You're climbing up, okay? It's hard. And at those elevations, that oxygen is thin. And at the same time, those that have already been at the top are climbing down. They've already seen the summit. They've already seen the views. And the etiquette is that as they pass you on the way down, it's to give encouragement. You're almost there. Oh my gosh. The first time I heard it, every cell in my body said, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. You don't know what almost has meant in my life. You don't know what those words have promised me before. You don't know how long almost can last. Amazing what triggers can do, right? Amazing what can come up from past trauma and scenarios that have nothing to do with that past trauma. Okay, maybe it's a little dramatic for me to call that trauma. It wasn't traumas. That nurse was trying to help me. But you get it. But here's the thing. I was hiking and climbing those mountains multiple times a week for years. And over time, I began to hear something different in the hikers' words. Maybe they weren't promising that the summit was only 2 minutes away, right? Maybe they weren't predicting the distance at all. Maybe they were just simply lending me a view that I didn't see yet, that I didn't have yet, a perspective that I didn't have yet, right? To tell somebody that you're almost there. I'm like, oh, I needed that perspective. Thank you. That could have been that simple. Because they had seen something that I couldn't see yet. When you're hiking mountains, you're doing switchbacks all the way. So you're zigzagging your way up. It's not a straight shot upward. Unless you're climbing the 14ers and you're above the tree line. And that just means those are the tallest mountains in the U.S. They are above 14,000 feet, where trees don't even grow anymore, and you're just climbing boulders. And yes, I've done those too, because those live in Colorado. But that's a whole other story for a whole other episode. But here's the thing, that hiker coming down, they know that the trail continues, right? They know that the summit exists, when those of us coming up are starting to wonder if this thing even exists. And for just a moment, for that moment while passing, while we're walking in opposite directions, they were still helping me find my way. And I love that, because sometimes we assume that supporting someone means traveling beside them, like you're side by side walking. In every episode, we talk about how through these conversations, we're all just walking each other home, right? We think we have to be headed in the same direction. We think we have to accompany one another for the entire journey. But sometimes we're just helping each other by crossing paths, and that's enough. We're coming down from something that someone else is still climbing. We've experienced the rough patch that someone is just now going through. We've survived the stretch of the trail that they are currently questioning themselves in. So sometimes we're only crossing paths for that few seconds. And the only thing we can really offer in that moment is a little borrowed perspective, right? You're almost there. Not certainty, not a promise, just perspective. Like, hey, I know you can't see it from where you are, but there's more cool shit ahead than just this little difficult stretch right here. Someone's probably done that for you before, right? Someone entered your life at the exact moment that you had begun believing that there was no end in sight, no light at the end of the tunnel, and they gave you your vision back, right? Your end goal vision. They didn't solve anything. They didn't carry you there. They simply reminded you that the part that you're standing in right now is not your whole story. But there's a whole other side to this. And this is where I feel torn, and why I believe it's so important to not give people advice. Because what worked for you may not have worked for somebody else. And just because somebody tells you you're almost there doesn't mean that continuing up is the right decision. Sometimes that summit, that peak, is close, but our body is telling us something very important. We're dehydrated. We're losing oxygen. The weather is changing. We don't have enough energy left for the descent when we have to come back down. And reaching the top of the mountain sure isn't going to mean much if we have nothing left to get ourselves safely down. Yet sometimes we force ourselves toward the summit anyway, because turning around is just going to hurt our pride, right? But I've come so far. I've invested so much. I've told too many people that I was going to be doing this. And our identity is involved now, right? But I'm the kind of person who finishes, damn it. I never quit. But sometimes that determination becomes very expensive. You know how much it costs to have a helicopter rescue come get you off the top of the mountain because you can't make it back down? Or because you're dehydrated? Because you're losing oxygen? You know how expensive that is? You want to talk about pride. You know how embarrassing that is? Where that peak, that ability to be able to pound your chest and say, I did it. Meanwhile, you abandoned and ignored every voice your body was trying to tell you along the way. Have you gone on that journey before? That shit'll cost you your health. It'll cost relationships. It'll cost your peace, your nervous system shot. Yeah, sometimes it costs far more than the destination was ever worth. So when somebody comes along and says, you're almost there, that doesn't automatically mean, oh, okay, well then I should keep going. That advice is coming from outside of us, remember? So if you've been with me and you've been in other episodes, we talk about that instruction and guidance that's coming from outside of us. So when that message comes along, that's basically like, hey, you're capable, you're almost there. That doesn't mean you necessarily should. What's that quote? Just because we can doesn't mean we should, right? Capability, being told that we're capable, is not an obligation to do the damn thing. Just because we can override what our body is saying doesn't mean overriding ourselves, overriding the warning signs is a strength. Just because you keep pushing doesn't mean pushing is what the moment requires. Not always, anyway. And just because the summit is visible doesn't mean that the summit is still worth the cost. Just because maybe you are starting to see the light at the tunnel doesn't mean necessarily that you have to keep going. And that's true in the mountains. But this episode isn't about hiking, is it? It's also not about childbirth, is it? We're all showing up inside of storylines with our own beginnings, our own middle phase, and our own endings. It could be marriage, career, business, moving, parenting, healing, grief, recovery. It could be a friendship, a whole creative project, a dream. Hell, it can even just be a version of ourselves we've spent years trying to become, right? The beginning is often adrenaline. The beginning is possibility. It's got imagination. We can see what this might become. We can picture the finished book, the successful business, the healthier relationship, the dream life. And then we enter the middle phase, where it's repetition, doubt, and often there's not a whole lot of applause going on in that middle section, is there? Because there's no proof, there's no visible transformation. It's just the same effort over and over again and not much to show for. But you know how I was saying that I want to zoom in on that end of the middle phase where the excitement of the beginning is gone, but there's also like no evidence of the breakthrough coming ahead. Oh, and that first phase, that beginning phase, we don't even hear that chatter because we're running on adrenaline, we're on excitement, we're in that honeymoon phase. But the end of the middle, the volume starts going up on that mental chatter, right? Why is this taking so long? Maybe I didn't make the right choice. I just don't think this is working. I'm so tired of trying. What if I never get there? What if there's no such thing as this idea and this goal, this dream that I have? Maybe it's too far-fetched. I cannot keep doing this. This moment right here is why I'm pressing record today. This moment is not after the breakthrough when everything suddenly makes sense in hindsight. It's also not the beginning where we're fully inspired. It's the moment says the things that we're hesitating on, but maybe we're not necessarily automatically following through on. Like I titled this episode, Don't Tell Me I'm Almost There. So you get that? It's in that moment where I'm saying it, it's the knee-jerk reaction, but do I actually mean that? Like I'm hesitating on that, right? Like I said it, in my head I said it, but do I mean that? And we're just kind of swinging on that, right? This is the moment and the thought, or thoughts, I should say, that we need to build a relationship with. The breakthrough is what becomes possible once we stop assuming that every thought deserves authority. So what do we do when our mind says things like, I can't keep doing this? Do we continue? Turn around? Pause? Rest? Take a break? Like, for example, I know it's summertime right now, and we are cramming our weekends with social lives and good times and cookouts and swimming. But if it is that pause or that rest that we need, then maybe there's a weekend that we need to sit out. I can't keep doing this. What do we do when our mind says that? Do we ask for help? Do we wait? Or how about this, one of my favorites? Do we change the goal? Do we pivot? Change the destination? Come up with a new idea? Honestly, I don't think there's one answer, which is my point of this. My point of all the episodes. I won't even pretend that there is one right answer. Sometimes the desire to quit is just fear standing at the edge or on the brink of growth, right? Sometimes the desire to quit is our body's wisdom trying to save us from self-abandonment. That self-abandonment that I was saying, like where you ignore the warning signs, ignore what your body is saying, you override the caution signs and abandon your own body, abandon your health, and so on. Sometimes in that zoomed in moment, we need encouragement. We need honesty. We need someone reminding us how far we've come. And sometimes we just need someone to care about our life more than our achievement. Actually, maybe the deeper question isn't, should I quit or keep going? Maybe the actual question is, what is this desire to quit, let's say? What is that desire trying to tell me? Is it saying, I need rest. I just need nourishment. I just need support. I need different information, education. Or what I feel like my body's often saying is that I need to stop measuring progress only by what I can see. Ouch. Oof. Or is that desire to quit actually screaming, this is no longer safe here. Want, want, want. This is no longer mine. This goal is no longer mine. This cost has changed. Want, want, want. And we're arguing back. I'm only continuing because I'm afraid of what turning around would mean about me. There's a massive difference between that painful edge, that painful brink of growth, and that dangerous edge of self-abandonment where you ignore all the signs. Sadly, that difference, though massive difference, isn't always obvious, especially when we've learned to distrust our bodies in this culture and just follow the guidance and instruction of others, or just follow the encouragement, follow the support. There's people around us, they're chanting encouragement, but especially when we've got our identity wrapped around finishing the damn thing. Our mind might say, oh, you're weak if you turn around. Our ego might say, you need that peak. You need that summit to prove who you are. Prove who the you are. That's our ego. And our supporters, they mean it in love. They might say, you've come too far to stop. You've come this far. Just keep going. But what is your body saying? What is the reality saying? What is the cost saying? What does the most honest part of you know? Maybe we're not being asked to prove that we can reach the top. Maybe we're being asked to remain in relationship with ourselves while we're deciding whether we should go on to the top, go on to that summit, go on to that goal, that destination, that new life. And turning around, that doesn't erase how much of the mountain you've already climbed. You don't return back to that starting point, back to that trailhead as the person who began this. You're bringing information, experience, discernment, humility, that's for sure. Knowledge of the path, knowledge of that trail, and certainly knowledge of what your limitations are. And we talk about how much of ourselves we sacrifice when, even if it did cost our health or some relationships. You may have a deeper respect for your own life. So turning around, that's not giving up. It's how we remain alive enough to continue having one. But you know what? Continuing, that's not always self-abandonment either. If you're going to continue upward, sometimes we're simply exhausted because we're growing. It's growing pains. Growing is exhausting. And yes, we should keep on growing. What sucks is that middle ground, just how meh it is. Like the scenery, it hasn't changed. But actually, inside of us, we're changing. We're transforming. But how about this? Sometimes, wait, check this out. Sometimes we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel or that peak, that summit, simply because we're standing in the part of the journey where that view is blacked. That's it. That's it. You just go around the corner, a few more steps, and boom, you're going to start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so that person coming down, getting that other person's perspective helps us remember that our current vantage point is not the only one that exists. Go a few more steps and we'll see the full view. You're almost there. That's encouragement, not a command. It's information. When someone tells us you're almost there, we can still go within and we can say, thanks. Good to know. And I do believe you, but I do need to turn around. So I am going to still head back. Or another response could be when they say, you're almost there. Thank you. Thank you. I needed to know that the summit freaking exists, that what I want out of life actually exists. But I'm also going to take a seat on this boulder, rest a little bit and pause, and then decide if I'm going to continue. But there's also the response that's taken me back to that labor and delivery room. Wonderful, you're almost there. Maybe a response I could have had was, listen, I know you mean well, but I don't need a promise right now. I need someone to tell me the truth, right? Straight shooter. How much longer do I actually have to go? How much harder is this about to get? Or maybe our response to you're almost there is simply allowing yourself to trust. Maybe you say like, thank you. I can't see it from here, but I trust that you can. And because of that, I'm going to take a few more steps and then I'll reassess. But you see, in that hard part of the transition, their words of encouragement don't get to make the decision for us. I'm not saying that the person is trying to make the decision for you, but that advice doesn't get to make the decision for us. Those words. Neither does the mountain, neither does the chapter, the career, the investment, neither does our pride, our ego, that voice in our head that believes stopping means failure. Hearing that you're almost there is simply data. It's information. It's not instruction. Ooh, did we hear that? Did we hear that? It's information, not instruction. Being close is not the same as being called to, continue. Being close, I think I need to repeat that one too. Being close is not the same as being called to continue. Oh, we came to church today, didn't we? And being tired isn't always the indicator that we should stop. Oh, I'm on a roll here. Being tired doesn't mean we have to stop. The work is in the relationship of that moment. Being in relationship with yourself. The listening, the honesty, the willing to stay present long enough to hear the difference between fear and wisdom. Oh, exhaustion from misalignment. Can you hear the difference? Can we in our body know the difference from perseverance, from, self-abandonment? That's it. But let's go be the other person in this. What happens when you're the person coming down the mountain? When you're the person who already went through what they are now going through? What do we offer to them? Better not be a slogan, right? Not just some script like that nurse did. Do we pressure them towards the summit? Because turning around might be an uncomfortable conversation. Do we make promises about a distance that we can't measure? We don't know how hard it's going to be for them. We don't know how long it's going to take for them to do it. Do we tell them they're capable as though their strength belongs to the goal more than it belongs to themselves? Oh, or can we learn from this whimsy idea today? And instead we lean in and we say, I see you. I see how hard this is. Hell, I can see how far you've come. And listen, I'm talking to you. I don't know exactly how much farther it is, but here's what I know. I trust you to listen to your own body. And honestly, I've got mad respect if you continue, but I've also got mad respect if you turn around. You don't have to make this decision to protect your pride, and you sure the hell don't have to face this alone. Being able to share space with someone in their discomfort is rare, and you don't have to rush someone out of their discomfort simply because we don't know how to sit with it. And encouragement, though important, encouragement doesn't decide which direction, whether someone continues or turns around. Encouragement doesn't decide which one proves their strength. Sharing space with somebody who is uncomfortable in that few seconds that you're crossing paths might help them stay connected to themselves long enough to hear what their own body is saying. Sometimes walking each other home simply means reminding someone that the summit exists. Other times, it means helping them safely return back to the trailhead, or even offering perspective for only a few more steps to get them going again until they reassess. Oof. Sometimes, feeling this one already. Sometimes the person we're being asked to walk home is ourselves. Ourselves. So wherever you find yourself today, in the middle of a relationship, career, a creation, a move, healing, a dream, a version of yourself you were no longer sure you could keep carrying, maybe we don't have to decide from the loudest voice in our head. Maybe we can pause long enough to ask, am I being invited to continue along? Continue going? Am I being invited to pause, rest, opt out this weekend? Or am I being invited to turn around and carry this wisdom, and to something else, to a different mountain, somewhere else? But don't tell me I'm almost there as though that means I have to keep going. Don't tell me I'm capable as though my strength belongs to the destination more than it belongs to me and my body, my human experience, and what I need to do for me. Tell me the truth. Help me see what I cannot see. Remind me to listen to what I can feel within. And then leave enough room in this conversation for my own wisdom to take its seat. Because maybe the breakthrough isn't necessarily reaching that peak or that goal. Maybe the breakthrough is becoming someone who can finally tell the difference between perseverance and self-abandonment. Oh gosh, I can feel these emotions. Maybe it's learning that we can continue without betraying ourselves, and that we can turn around without abandoning who we are becoming. We're still becoming, even when we turn around. Maybe almost there was never meant to tell us which direction to walk. It was only meant to remind us that this moment right now is not the whole story. This is why we need each other. This is why we have to remind each other that our wisdom and guidance is in the relationship that we have with ourselves within. This is why we're all just walking each other home. See you in the village, my friend.